Fire is usually chaotic. It consumes everything greedily. But the fire in room 305 of the Grand Hotel was different. It was disciplined. I stood over the body. The victim, Jane Doe, was carbonized on the bed. But the curtains, just a feet away, were untouched. This wasn't an accident. It was a localized thermal event. Someone had used an accelerant I'd never smelled before, sweet, metallic, like burning almonds. The Silas Vance files, case 002, The Woman of Ash. Dr. Halloway handed me the file, looking pale. Vance, look at the larynx. No soot in the trachea. That was the first impossibility. She didn't breathe in the smoke. She was dead before she burned. Cause of death, blunt force trauma to the occipital lobe, a professional hit, and we had a suspect. The hotel clerk swore he saw a man leaving her room at 10 p.m. A tall man with a limp, carrying a violin case. We knew him. The musician, a local hit man for the East Side mob. It seemed simple, unpaid debt. A mob execution. Case closed. Right. Wrong. We raided the musician's apartment 3 hours later. He was gone, but he left something behind. A reel-to-reel tape recorder, spinning silently on his desk. I hit play. I expected a confession. Instead, I heard her voice, the dead woman. She wasn't begging for her life. She was interrogating him. You think you are the hunter, Alex said. You are just a distraction. The real cargo arrived at midnight. The tape cut to static. The dynamic had shifted. She wasn't the victim. She was the one in control. We found the musician the next morning, floating in the harbor, throat slit. He didn't kill her. He was terrified of her. The autopsy showed he had been dead for 24 hours. He was already dead before the fire in the hotel room started. My timeline shattered. If the hit man was dead, who burned the woman in room 305? We were chasing a ghost. I hit a wall. I sat in my office, listening to the rain, rereading the evidence list. That's when I saw it. Item number 42. A silver religious pendant found fused to her chest. It looked like a saint, but something nagged at me. A coincidence, or fate. I held it under the UV lamp. It wasn't a saint. The etching was a geometric pattern. It reminded me of something I'd seen in the Naval Archives. It wasn't jewelry. It was a key, a magnetic key for a high-security locker. I went back to the burnt clothes. I needed more. I scraped the residue from her charred coat and ran a spectral analysis in the lab. The machine spat out the results: trinitrotoluene and sea salt. In a hotel room. Then I remembered the background noise on the tape recording. I isolated the audio frequency. Below the hiss, a low-frequency hum, 40 hertz. That's the specific hum of the foghorn at the old lighthouse. She wasn't interrogated in the apartment. She was at the lighthouse. I drove to the lighthouse. The magnetic key opened a rusty locker in the basement. Inside, there were no guns, no money, just a stack of dossiers. Detailed profiles of every corrupt police officer in Rain City, including my captain. The woman of Ash wasn't a criminal. She was internal affairs from the capital, working deep cover. The passports, the wigs, they were tools to infiltrate the department. The musician was her informant, not her killer. They were both silenced to protect the corruption ring. I realized the smell of the accelerant, that burning almond smell from the hotel room. It wasn't common fuel. It was Ci-X, a chemical compound used exclusively by the police evidence disposal unit. The killer didn't break in. He walked in with a badge. He burned her to destroy the dossier she carried, but he missed the locker key. I didn't make an arrest. You don't arrest the man who owns the jail. I took the dossiers and mailed them to 3 different newspapers. By morning, the headlines would burn brighter than the fire in room 305. They called her Jane Doe. A mystery, but I knew her name. It was Justice. And justice sometimes rises from the ashes. But the corruption in Rain City goes deeper than one captain. Next time, a phone rings in a house that has been empty for 50 years. Who is on the line?